How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to this episode of Bash for Beginners. This is episode number 7, and we're going to be covering for loops and while loops in our programs. So, getting into for loops, if you're familiar with Python, C or Java, these for loops are going to look pretty familiar. So, just getting into it. Before double parentheses, I'm pretty sure is this like the convention to use, so I would just stick with that. And what we're going to be doing in this for loop is just printing out the digits from 0 to 9. So for I equals 0, I is less than 10. I don't like the way that looks. Alright. And then we're going to increment it, I plus plus, semicolon do. Then we're just going to print out the number. So echo I. And then I know that ifs end with phi and cases end with ESEC, but for loops actually end with done. So that's how you're gonna finish off your for loop. Note the semicolon do would be the same as that. Semicolon just says that there's been a new line, or like that it's the break of this line. So any code after is going to be from another line. So you can do it either way. You can do that way or that way, it doesn't matter. I kind of like the way this one looks. It's a little bit less, but with other styles, I don't know. It's personal preference, but we're just going to go ahead and run this. So as you can see, digits from 0 through 9 print out. So yeah, simple for loop. Next we'll be covering like a Python style of doing it, where you would create a variable that's an instance of your for loop. So to do this, I'm just going to loop through a string of names. So I'll just create a string of names, and I'll set it to Alex, Jack, Bob, Susie, Sandy, Sophia. So that's going to be our list of names, and then we're going to do our for loop the same style way. So it's going to be for name, and this is where we're creating our variable inside of our for loop. So name is going to end up equaling all of these at one point, because it's going to be for name in, and then we have to pass our variable pass symbol for this one, because this is an actual variable that we're calling, not that we're creating. So for name and names, we're going to do, and again, you could get away with that. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna we'll say hi to everyone. So we'll say hello, and then we'll print out the name inside of that. And then again, since this is a for loop, we don't end with like rof or something. We're gonna end with done. So now we'll go ahead and run this. As you can see, for name and names assigns a name to each individual name inside of that string, and then we go ahead and print that out saying hello to them. So that's another more like Pythonic style way of doing your for loops in Bash. So that's a good one to cover. Next, what did I say I was going to do? For loop to list all shell files in a folder. Oh yeah, this one's pretty interesting. So to do this, you're gonna have to know a little bit about like terminal commands. You have to be kind of familiar with it. If you ever see I use clear sometimes, or like ls to list files, cd is like changing directory. So there's Linux commands that you enter into your terminal to make stuff happen, and we want to list directories, so we want to ls. As you can see inside, I have a .text file that we're going to end up using later on, but as I said, I want to list all shell files in a folder, so can't just ls. So we're going to use ls asterisk .sh, and this will only select .shell files. So that's the command we need to use, but we need to use it inside of our script, not in the terminal. So we're going to figure out how to do that in this one. So we're going to create our files, a list of our files, and it's going to be files equals, and then this will be how you enter in a Linux command. So it'll be our $, and then ls, and then our star.sh. It's that simple. So yeah, that's how basically we're going to do our terminal commands. And then it's basically going to be the same thing as the for loop above after this. So it's just going to be, we'll just call it file. So for file, we're creating a file and now we have to reference our files. And what are we going to do? We're going to echo file. Oh. So now running this, syntax error. Oh, hopefully one of you guys caught that. You're supposed to use done at the end of a for loop, duh. So running it again, as you can see, that's how it works. Even if you wanted to, you could also do something like this if you wanted to, and say file number and then put your file in there, and then we can iterate. So this way we can count how many files are like file number 1, file number 2, etc. As you can see, that's a way of doing it. Double quotes inside, and then using plus plus as a way to iterate inside of a loop. I believe we'll be using that later on, but yeah, so that's another option. So that's pretty cool, that we can now start to like manipulate, like as you saw, like file number 2, file number 3, like we could have went through in a for loop in this directory and renamed all of these files to file number 2.sh, file number 3.sh if we really wanted to. All we'd use is like the renaming command. So yeah, this line especially right here opens up a lot of possibilities for, oh, just deleted it, nice. Opens up a lot of possibilities for just things you can do on your computer, like manipulating with code, automating tasks. So yeah, pretty interesting. Moving on to while loop. In this one, I tried to think of something fun. I filled a text file with just like random article stuff that I found from like some free website to copy text. Don't worry, it's not illegal. I looked it up. So I just have a text file filled with just random text, and we're basically just going to go through this and read everything, and we can reference the lines how I did the file if I want to. So I'll do that. But this one will also show you how you can read in an external file, so that's interesting. We're going to start out with, we'll just say line equals 1 because we're going to use a line counter. And then we'll do while read minus r, and then we're going to create a variable. So this line is a little bit new. But basically we're familiar with the reading command. The minus r is basically just no special characters will alter it. Like it breaks the line at the end of the line instead of even any special characters. It'll take the entire line. So then do. So similar, for loops and while loops are both start with do, end with done. So we're getting into the for loop do. What are we going to do? We're just going to print out, we'll print out our line, and then we'll print out the text to it. So we'll do that, and then iterating like before, line plus plus and double parentheses. And then to get out of it, like I said before, we use done. Now you might be wondering how I read from this file. well, technically in the code we've written, the file hasn't been grabbed yet. The way that we include the file is at the end of this done statement. What it's going to be is just going to be the less than sign, so we're just opening it up, and then the file path. This is in the same directory, so I don't need to get into a different directory, but it is slash sample.txt. That's the name of the file. So this is how to include file to read from. So that should work. Yeah, we're just reading it in. This is what a while loop looks like. Pretty similar to for loops. For loops just iterate over like a length when this while loop is the loop is executing to a condition instead of, well, I guess these are kind of to a condition, but this is going till it's not reading anymore. These are going until it's hit the last number, which I guess is the same as just hitting the last line. It's just different ways to structure your code. So I'll go ahead and run this, and this is probably going to be pretty ugly on the terminal, but we will see that we pulled it from this. So I'll go ahead and expand this a little bit because it's probably going to be a lot of text. And then we'll go ahead and run it. And line 1 starts off, line 2, 3, and so on. At the Vero EOS, go to sample, at Vero EOS. Alright, so it's pulling the correct data from an external file. That's for loops and while loops and shell. If you have any questions, drop in the comments. I'll try to help you out. I'll remember to leave this code in my description, but the repository with all of this code in it from the series is been in the previous video descriptions. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day.